Morning, good afternoon. I am Cadet Barlow. I am the OIC for this lab.
I'm Cadet Gaines. I'm one of the trainers for this lab.
I'm Cadet Van Wagner. I'm also a trainer for this lab.
Okay, so this lab, it's going to be a little different since half of this is virtual, half of it's in person. But if you're watching this virtual, this will be on YouTube. So you will put any questions that you have in the YouTube comment box and somebody will answer them while still on the lab. Your homework will be posted on Canvas for this lab, as well as any other questions that you have. The PowerPoint that this is based on will be posted on an email sent to you. So the homework will include information from the PowerPoint and from this presentation. So if you don't go through both, you don't watch our presentation fully, and you don't go through the PowerPoint and watch all the videos, because questions will come from the videos, you will not get 100% on your homework assignment. Thank you. All right, good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. This is gonna be our pre-recorded lab for online video. So, I'm Cadet Barlow. I'm Alpha Company First Sergeant. And this is Cadet Gaines. He is one of my assistants or trainers. I'll be teaching squad breakdown, weapon systems, claymores, and hand grenades. So the squad breakdown. Standard squad is made up of 6 to 9 people, 2 riflemen, 2 automatic riflemen, 2 grenadiers, 1 squad leader, and 2 team leaders. All right, down here, we have half of a squad.
Just one team.
One team, the team or squad leader is in here as well. But this is a team. The second portion of this isn't on here for a specific reason. What do you think the other team would look like? How would the team leader rifleman, automatic rifleman, and grenadier be set up? It's different than the first team. All right, so it's actually going to be set up flipped from this, because this is called the strong side, and this is the weak side, light side, heavy side, light side. So on the strong side or heavy side, we have the automatic rifleman. This is basically what makes it the heavy side, because this is your mass casualty producing weapon. In the team's setup, that will be the M249, which we will go over. So, in the second team, you want it flipped so that you can have full security on both sides of the element. So when it's in the full squad layout, you'll have an automatic rifleman on the left side and the right side of the formation. If you look over here, this is a full squad setup. You have your Alpha team leader, Bravo team leader, your rifleman, automatic rifleman, grenadier, team leader, grenadier, rifleman, automatic rifleman. So as you can tell, they're flipped. There's 3 on this side on the front, and 3 on the right side on the bottom. So the grenadier is called a grenadier because he has the same rifle as the rifleman, the M4, but on the bottom of his rifle is a grenade launcher. So that's why he's called a grenadier. All right, if we'll come back over here. The crew-served weapons. So the first crew-served weapon that we're going to go over is the M249, better known as the SAW, squad automatic weapon. The M249 machine gun is gas-operated, air-cooled, belt-fed machine gun, fully automatic, and it operates from an open bolt position. Open bolt means that when it's loaded, the bolt is locked back, okay? So in your standard M4, the bolt is forward. So what that means is when there's a round in the chamber, the bolt is locked on behind it, you squeeze the trigger, the firing pin goes, and it hits the round that's in the chamber. For an open bolt, the bolt is all the way to the rear. You pull the trigger the bolt drops, which means it lets go, it goes forward, pushes around into the chamber, fires, and then the bolt comes back again. So the length of the M249 is 30.75 inches to 36.25 inches. The weight is 17.95 pounds, and the caliber is .556 NATO. So that's the same round that the M4 shoots, or civilian equivalent AR-15. So the maximum effective range per doctrine is 800 meters area and 600 meters point. Area means that at 800 meters you see a barn. You can hit that barn at 800 meters, but maybe you can't hit that window that you want to shoot at. At 600 meters, you can hit that window accurately. So crew served weapons are considered mass casualty producing weapons, which means they fire a lot of ammo in a short amount of time to cause the most casualties as possible. The next crew served weapon.
One thing I want to add, the weight, 17.95 pounds, that is entirely empty. So there's no rounds in that, there's no like belt on it yet, that is still just empty. So in a normal situation, you're going to have rounds in there, so that's going to add to the weight. So it is already a heavy weapon, plus then you add the rounds, that makes it even that much heavier to carry around.
Yes, and these are belt fed, which means there's a lot of ammunition linked together with little metal brackets. So there's a lot of ammo.
And that ammo is very heavy.
And it's heavy. That's why it's called a crew serve, because you normally will have an ammo bearer because of the weight of the weapon and the weight of the ammo. Next crew serve weapon is the M240 Bravo. This is the big boy. Now this gun will not be in your standard squad or team. It will be in the weapons squad. So each weapons squad will normally have 1 to 2 of these and M249 saws. So the M240 Bravo, it fires a .762 caliber bullet, also known as a .308. That's a much bigger bullet with a lot more power than the M249 shoots, or the .556. So the purpose of this gun is to scare the crap out of the enemy and go through anything they're hiding behind. There's no chance that they're going to survive. That is the purpose of this. It is a big, scary gun. If you open up on somebody that's coming at you, they're going to put their head down. It is loud and terrifying. So this is as well a belt-fed, air-cooled, gas-operated, fully automatic machine gun. It also fires from the open bolt position, like the M249. The length of this standard is 44.5 inches. The weight is 27.3 pounds, which if you're rucking 6 miles with that, that gets heavy, especially with ammo and your ruck and all your other kit. That gets very heavy. Trust us. So like I said, the caliber is .762. The maximum effective range per doctrine is 800 meters point, 1100 meters area. So like I said before, 800 meters, you can hit that window in that barn. At 1100 meters, you can hit that barn, but not that window necessarily. All right, CFF, Combat Field Fire. So this is just a brief overview of combat field fire. This is one of the more in-depth things on this presentation. It is a 172-page doctrine that everybody will have a link to if you want to go more in depth with it. But it basically goes over your firing positions and hitting your target accurately at certain distances. So the positions that we're going to go over.
Want me to get down to that?
Yeah. If you'll look at Cadet Gaines, he is firing from the kneeling position. So The modified kneeling is like this. That's a more stable way of shooting than just up on a knee like that. So then the next is barricade. So a barricade, that can be a tree, that can be a brick wall, anything that you're posted up on to give yourself some cover. It also makes it a little bit more accurate because you're resting the weight of the rifle and your arm on that piece of cover. The next is prone. There's two types of prone. There's prone supported, which will be like a sandbag, a log, anything that the rifle and your arm is resting on. That is the most accurate position to shoot from. And then prone unsupported. That is not using anything to rest your rifle on. You're using your elbow and your own stabilization to fire that weapon. That's still more accurate than kneeling, but if you can find prone supported, that is the best to do for sure. And then finally, standing, the most inaccurate. You're going to shake around, you're going to shoot, the recoil is going to push you back. It is just not the best spot to shoot from. Plus, you don't want to be standing up in a firefight because you'll get shot.
It's also not the most comfortable to be standing in after you've fired off a bunch.
Yeah.
Because you're taking that recoil, stepping back probably every now and then. Definitely go for that prone supported every time if you can.
Yep. Last thing, imagine trying to shoot a fully automatic crew served weapon like the M249 or M240 Bravo. That every round that goes off, it's pushing you back. So you go a full auto burst, you're gonna be like stumbling back, trying to control that weapon, and you don't want that because that could throw off a shot, you could hit somebody you're not trying to hit. That's just not a good scenario. So those weapons you almost always want to shoot from prone supported. The Claymore. All right, most people have played video games. They know that claymores are effective at killing people. In video games, they're not very practical because most of them are not lasers, okay? They have a tripwire. So, they're used in ambush missions to cause mass casualties, and they can be used to start an ambush. They're a very versatile piece of equipment. So what they have, it fires in one direction. There's normally a bunch of basically ball bearings, so big steel balls with a lot of gunpowder or explosives behind it that shoot all those projectiles out. So, on the front of a claymore, it says, front toward enemy. That means the direction you want it to shoot, you put the front of it towards the enemy. Because you don't want to put it towards you. That is not a good day. Okay? After you place a claymore, you want to conceal it with the surrounding environment. So, say you place your claymore, you set out the tripwire, whatever. You want to put leaves around it, over it, brush, anything to make it to where the enemy will not see it. Because if they see it, they'll know something's going on, and then your ambush will not go as planned. And finally, hand grenades. Everybody should be slightly familiar with a hand grenade. This is a dummy hand grenade, M67 fragmentation grenade. There's multiple types of grenades. This is the one that we are going to go over and the most known. So it's called a fragmentation grenade because when it explodes, it makes all the metal around this separate and go into a million different pieces. So as you would think, that can cause a lot of damage to somebody. So grenades and other explosive devices, they explode in a conical shape. So if it's on the ground, it's exploding up and out. So if you get a grenade thrown at you and you don't have time to get away from it, your best bet is to lay on the ground because that is the least likely way that you're going to get hit by any shrapnel. Now, concussive force is a different story, but we won't go into that right now. All right, so if a grenade comes at you and you don't have time to get away super far from it, throw it back, you probably don't want to throw it back. That's just a bad idea. But what you'll do, you'll have your ACH on, or your helmet. It's not bulletproof, it's bullet resistant. So you'll get as far away from it as you can, lay on the ground, and put your hands behind your neck. You want your heels to be flat too. That'll get you the flattest that you can. That is the same position you'll go into when you are throwing the grenade, which I'll go over now. All right. Doctrine says that you throw a grenade with a shot put motion. Anybody that has run track should be familiar with the shot put. So this is the shot put throwing motion, and you're going like that. Most people do not throw it like that because that doesn't go very far with a little grenade like this. Most people throw it in a baseball formation, but doctrine says in a shot put position. So when you throw a grenade, you yell, "Grenade out," before throwing. Once you throw the grenade, you're going to take cover. You'll have your helmet on again. You'll get behind the cover that you're throwing from. Put your hands over your head like this. And that is the safest position for you to be. And you want to throw from behind cover if you can. Now, how you hold the grenade. This is called the spoon. There's a pin normally in here, but there's no pin. And it has like a ring on it, like on your keychain. So what you'll do, you hold the grenade in the crotch of your hand, right here. You hold the spoon, and you wrap like that, okay? If you're left-handed, you flip it over and put the grenade in the crotch. That way, the pin, to pull the pin, it's on the same side so that you can grab it with your other hand. So you have it in your hand, you grab that, and these things are hard to get out because they don't want them to just fall out. So you twist and you pull close to your chest. As soon as you take that pin out, you don't want to let go until you're ready to let go, because the spoon is spring-loaded, which means it will just pop right off, and that grenade is going to explode in 5 seconds or less. So, once that pin's out, you yell, frag out, grenade out, whatever, and you throw it. You get down into your cover like I demonstrated. That is the M67 frag grenade.
All right, good morning or good afternoon, depending on what time you're watching this for either your Tuesday or Thursday lab. As you said earlier, I'm Cadet Gaines. I'm one of the trainers.
I'm Cadet Van Wagner.
All right, so we're gonna be going over radio talk, radio etiquette, and reports. So first off, just with all these like radio stuff, it's all about just being calm, being relaxed. It's basically just you having a conversation with somebody over like a radio. You're using different acronyms and stuff, but there's no reason to get like all tense and all nervous about it because you're just talking to them. As soon as you get past the introduction and stuff, you're just having a conversation pretty much. All right, so Cadet Van Wagner is gonna walk you through this first part.
Okay, so radio setup. We're gonna, as we said earlier, we're gonna be setting up the slides, and in those slides will be a radio setup video. So watch that video so you know how to actually set it up, so all these instructions will make more sense as we read through it. Okay, so SINGARS. It's a single channel ground and airborne radio system. That is the radio that people are gonna be carrying around most of the time. Okay, so first step to set it up is insert batteries and plug it in. So on the bottom of the radio, there's gonna be a battery slot. You're gonna insert that battery, and then you're gonna jam the battery cover on after you plug it in. So once you jam that battery cover on, make sure you, there's a little locking mechanism that you have to flip around and push down to make sure it's actually locked in, make sure it doesn't actually fall out, okay? Then step 3 is set operator switches and controls. So this is when you have it plugged in, the radio's on. There's gonna be switches that you change to. So there's going to be a little dial knob. When you flip it back over on the top, there's going to be the screen, dial knob towards the bottom left corner. You're going to switch that over to PT. Then after, there's a function switch that you're going to change on the keypad, switch it to LD, and then there's going to be a mode switch, which you'll switch to SC. Okay? Then after that, you'll install the antenna and handset. Okay? You're going to screw that into the port. You're not going to actually screw the antenna. There's going to be a metal ring that you screw on. Okay? Don't actually screw the antenna because that could mess it up. Then the handset, you're just going to plug that in. And then you're going to preset your channels and frequencies, which will be on the screen. You'll input all of that onto there.
And one thing to add, so the PT, the LD, and the SC, so what Cadet Van Wagner was talking about earlier, PT stands for plain text, LD, load, and then SC, single channel. So you're doing a single channel plain text communication lines. So, next slide. All right, so this is the radio etiquette part of this class. So you're always gonna, this is your little intro paragraph pretty much that you're always gonna follow. So you're always gonna start with, hey you, this is me. So if I was calling Cadet Van Wagner, I am Falcon 3, he is Falcon 1. So I'd come over the radio and enter the net. This is basically how you enter the net. You're gonna say, Falcon 1, this is Falcon 3, over. And then Cadet Van Wagner will respond with, Falcon 3, this is Falcon 1, I'm receiving you, over. So that is your introduction, how you enter the net each time, depending on who you're calling. If you're sending up a sit rep, which we'll go over later, a salute report, we'll go over that later as well, or a medevac. That's how you enter the net each time. All right? Then at the end of a transmission, out is going to be used when the transmission is over. However, you're not going to say out if you're talking to someone that outranks you. So say I was calling up Lieutenant Colonel Smith, I would not say out, I would just wait for him to say out because it's very rude and that's disrespectful for me to say out because I'm a lower ranking person than him. So you always wait for your higher ranking officials to say out. And then finally, if it's a long transmission, you're gonna break it up. So there's a whole bunch of, like your whole company is on the same frequency usually. So there's a bunch of people communicating this way, that way. Everybody's talking about something different. First platoon is doing something different than the second platoon. Everybody's trying to get into the net. So if I have a transmission that's like a couple paragraphs long that I gotta send up, well, I'm only gonna do a sentence, stop, take my hand off the part of the receiver, let somebody else say something, come back on, say my next part, come off, somebody else can get something in, and then it's gonna work like that every time. You have anything to add to that, Van Wagner?
So I'll say, so the higher ranking official, when they're saying out because if they have some information they need passed down, they're gonna have it before you probably do. Because everyone's trying to communicate to them what's going on in their different situations. So it's important that you know what is going on. So you never say out because of that also.
All right.
All right, so SITREP, or a situation report. It's basically used to keep higher informed throughout the whole operation. So you're gonna start off with date and time, or DTG, which is date and time group. That is when everything is happening and the time that it is, okay? Then you're gonna do the unit making the report. So that's you. That is your group of people, that's your squad or your team or whatever. It's who you guys are that are making this report. Okay, 3, when the operation did start. So that is basically are about to step off for the operation, or if you already did, when that operation began, okay? Then 4, until, so when the operation will end. That is completion of the operation. 5 is the map. So for the map coordinates, you're gonna need at least a 6-digit grid location of your squad or team. So there's either 6, 8, or 10. 6-digit is gonna be basically an error of 100 meters or so. 8 gets a little bit more accurate, then 10 is the most accurate that it can be. 6, enemy. That is basically all the activity they're doing. So if they're moving along a road, if they're patrolling a compound, if they're talking to civilians or whatnot, whatever you see them doing, you report that. Non-hostile, any non-hostile elements, so like media, journalists, civilians in the area, all of that. Then own forces activities. What are you guys doing? Are you on your way to an ORP? Are you getting eyes on the objective? What are you guys doing?
All right, so the one thing just to add, the reason you're sending up a situation report is Hire's not on the battlefield there with you. They're back at their forward operating base or wherever they are. They can't see what's going on with your situation and whatnot. So they're just making sure that everybody is on track and they can see all their moving pieces where everybody's going. All right, next page. All right, so now you have your salute reports. So this is to gather and send up key pertinent intelligence that is actually pertinent to your unit or platoon. So this is an acronym. So the S stands for size. So size of the enemy observed. So I observed 3 people in OCP uniforms. That's something that you would send up. All right, the A stands for activity, which is what the enemy was doing. They were patrolling down this road. They were about to walk across this creek. They were going somewhere, what they were doing. All right, L, location. So again, you're gonna either use that 6-digit, that 8-digit, or that 10-digit grid. If you can use those 8 or 10 to be more accurate, that's better. And then you have U, uniform or unit. So to which the enemy belongs. So say if I observed them in OCPs, I would say they're in OCPs. They were in black hoodies or something, white hoodies, I would say that as well. Just anything that makes them identifiable to your situation. Time, the time that it was observed at, plain and simple. And then equipment, they had AKs with them, they had a bunch of grenades, they had a rocket launcher, they had an RPG, anything that's that they're using that could be used against us pretty much. So as I said earlier, this is the actual intelligence, so that's the difference between the salute report and the sit rep, which we just went over. You have anything else to add or not?
That's pretty good.
All right.
All right, so next, it's a 9-line medevac. Okay, so medevac stands for medical evacuation, and it's used if someone suffers an injury. So, first line, location of pickup site. You're gonna do the same thing before, 6, 8, or 10 grid coordinate of your location, and it's not where you are. It is where you will be. So typically a CCP, which is a casualty collection point, that is set up where you'll have typically already security set up, everything squared away, and there's an LZ or a landing zone that the helicopter can pick up whoever's injured. 2, radio frequency / call sign. So that is the frequency you are calling on the radio and the call sign for you. So you'll respond, let's say your radio frequency is 49,500. You'll send that up and say your call sign is Falcon 3. You'll let them know that. Okay. Number 3 is number of patients by precedence. A is urgent, B is urgent surgery, C is priority, D is routine, E is convenience. So let's say you have a patient that's urgent and 2 urgent surgery. You would say 1A, 2B, break. Okay. So you would say 1A because there's 1 urgent, 2B because there's 2 urgent surgery. You don't break those up. Okay. Special equipment. A is for none, B is for hoist, C is for extraction equipment, and D is a ventilator. So if you have any equipment that you would need, you would put that in there too.
Wait, one thing. So one thing to add on there, so when you're saying line 3 or line 4, you're using the phonetic alphabet here. So you're gonna use Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, any of those, depending on what your injuries or your unit, the sustained injuries of. Okay, so we're gonna now go over the precedence of these patients. So Alpha, urgent. They got shot in the side twice. They plugged both of those wounds. They still need, it's still a very urgent injury, but it's not the same as Bravo, where it's urgent surgical. That is letting the medical team know they need to prep this room for surgery. Van Wagner blew his leg off. That room needs to be completely scrubbed clean. The doctor needs to be scrubbing in and whatever. Get ready to try and put his leg back on, pretty much. Charlie, you have priority. So, could have Van Wagner broke his leg, dislocated his shoulder, broken bone, something that's is still taking him out of the fight, but it's not completely life-threatening at the moment. Then you go down to the Delta, routine. So he hit his head, massive concussion, something like that. He could still be in the fight if he needed to be, but still needs something to get, he still needs to be looked at. And then finally, Echo, convenience. So he fell down a hill, went through a bunch of briars and stuff, cut himself all up, just at the next convenient time, he just needs to be kind of like patched up pretty much. And then we'll go over the special equipment part. So Alpha, you don't need any equipment at all. Everything, you don't need anything. Then you have Bravo, hoist. So they can't stand, or you're in the jungle, you need something to come down and pick them up. Then you have Charlie, which is extraction equipment. Again, you're in the jungle, you can't exactly land in that LZ, so the helicopter will drop down something that will pick them up and bring them to the helicopter itself. And then finally, Delta, Delta ventilator. So they collapsed the lung, they got shot in the lung, and they can't breathe for themselves. They need to have that ventilator on the bird so that they can be breathing, that ventilator can breathe for them. You have anything else to add or not? You want to go over this?
Yeah, I can do it. Okay, so line 5, number of patients by type. L is litter, so they cannot walk on their own. They have to be carried. That's A is alpha ambulatory, which means they can't walk on their own. They may be limping, but they can walk. So line 6, security of pickup site during wartime. So, N, November, no enemy troops. P, Papa, possible enemy. E, Echo, enemy troops, caution. Then X-ray, enemy troops, armed escort. So the difference between Echo and X-ray is enemy troops are nearby, or they are in the area and they are ready to shoot. Enemy troops armed escort means you are taking fire right now. You are getting shot at and you need armed escort to fire back at them so you could get whoever's injured out of there. Okay. Then line 6 during peacetime is number and type of wounds. So let's say you have Cadet Gaines here who got shot in the leg and he has a tourniquet on right now, but he needs to get out of there. So you'll say, hey, we have one wounded, shot in the leg, tourniquet got put on at this time, and whatnot. Now the difference between wartime and peacetime here, wartime is you're actively fighting, you're engaging the enemy. Peacetime is you're not fighting anyone right now, there's nothing going on around you, everything should be safe. So line 7, method of marking pickup site. So alpha would be panels, like a reflector kind of panel to signal where you are. B, pyro, lighting something on fire, like a bunch of trees.
Flare,
Something, yeah. C, smoke, so you'll carry smoke grenades most of the time on you. It could be like a red, blue, purple, yellow, whatever color smoke it is. Delta, none. And then Echo, others, so
barn.
yeah, barn, or you're just waving in the field or something. That'd be other.
I don't have anything else to add. Alright, so the last two, well technically 3. So line 8 is going to be patient nationality and status. So Alpha, US military, you have 2 Alpha, 2 your teammates or 2 people from our side are injured. Bravo, US civilian, don't know why they would be there, but they're there. Charlie, non-US military. So this could be a potential enemy combatant or somebody that happened to be in the area and they're hurt and now we are responsible for them for some reason. Then Delta, non-US civilian. So you have like just a couple like little kids playing soccer and one of them got hurt and we were in the area and we want to get them help. And then finally Echo EPW. So we have taken enemy prisoners of war, they got hurt in the fight somehow and they need medical attention. All right, then the first part of line 9, NBC contamination. This will be in wartime. So NBC stands for nuclear, biological, or chemical. So, and you would do as the following: November, nuclear, Bravo is bio, and Charlie is chemical. So if that would be happening like chemical warfare, somebody was shooting mustard gas or something, that would fall under chemical. And then the other part of line 9 would be terrain description, and that's during peacetime. So like any hills, you're next to a barn, power lines, something like that. So that should be the last one. But as I was going to say before, those first, actually I'll leave it back there. The first 5 lines of this 9 line need to be done in 25 seconds. You need 5 to fly. So when I'm calling up this 9 line, say I'm calling Ben Wagner, he is just the guy taking the radio call. He's not the actual helicopter pilot that's flying the helicopter out there. So he needs to get those first 5 lines, hand that paper to the pilot, so that way he can get the bird in the air and they can get to us as fast as possible. So then the other 6 through 9, they can be given to the pilot on the flight. That's why we wouldn't give them like our terrain, or I'm sorry, we wouldn't give them like what color smoke we would be using for our method of marking. So say like at a Van Wagner or whatever, we're using smoke as our method of marking. We wouldn't tell them what color the smoke is, because somebody could be hopping on our frequency, listening to our conversation. It could be our enemy that's listening to it, be like, oh, hey, they got 2 military civilian or people from their unit. They're down right there. Let's go hit them right there because we intercepted their transmission. So our pilot would come on the line and be like, hey, is it orange smoke that I'm looking for? And we'd be like, yes, it is orange smoke. That's us. So anything else you have to add?
So that's basically the same thing with terrain description. That's why it's during peacetime, because you don't want to give a description of where you are on the field so the enemy could just go, oh look, they're at that hill next to this barn. Let's just go set up an ambush on them. All right, so it's during peacetime because you're in the clear, there's typically no enemies, and you could call out where you are and then get everyone out safely.
Do you want to go over the canvas, the homework and stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So for our group, which is radio procedures and reports, our homework is going to be a 9-line report that you are going to write. So you're going to look at all these lines, figure out what you need to write down for each of them. There will be a scenario already made up, so you should be able to get most of that from there. If something isn't clear in that though, you can go ahead and make it on your own.
And we'll give you your call sign, we'll give you the frequency and anything that you need to like, that's kind of like unknown factors. Everything else will be in that scenario and it's for you to judge.
Yeah. Also, so phonetic alphabet and numerical pronunciations for the radio, those are on your slides. So if you look at the slides, it'll tell you how to say each one. So if you want to practice, you can look that over. If you're in person, it will be printed out and handed to you if you're looking at this video beforehand.
So as Cadet Barlow said earlier, the way that you get 100% on these homeworks is watching this video that we've just created with this presentation and looking at the slideshow that we've put up. That's the only way you're going to be able to get a 100, because there's parts that we've taken from both of them. It wasn't all just in this, and it's not all just on the PowerPoint. So be sure to stick around to the end of this video so that you get all the points that you needed. Anything else to add?
No.
All right, I think that's it for us. Thank you.